And we're back we're back from the weekend. The weekend is over. We now know who's going to be in the playoffs in the NFL. All the pretenders are gone by the wayside. The people making their move to become the champions of the 2023 season, well, they're at center stage right now. It's just a matter of who's going to be left on center stage at the end of the complete year when the Super Bowl has been decided. A lot of dreams can start here. A lot of dreams can get smashed. A lot of expectations can be high, and they can get shot down really quick. So let's get to it.
Let's get it. Man, some good football yesterday.
Excellent.
Crazy how the Texans, we've been on CJ Stroud since like week 4, and now
Man,
people on TV like, oh, look at what CJ Stroud's doing. Welcome to the party when the party's almost over.
for
Later
real.
ass motherfuckers. Anyway, don't get on the bandwagon now. But they went from win and in to division champs.
Division
And the
champ.
Jags, man, that's just an all-time collapse right there. Too bad for
Absolutely.
them, but I'm looking forward to seeing CJ Stroud in the playoffs. I want to see
Oh,
what he does.
man, now the playoffs, and then looking forward to the seasons that he's going to have as an NFL quarterback. I mean, I hate to believe that this is just a rookie year deal. A lot of these players come in their rookie year. Well, we had something like that as a phenomenon when Dan Marino came into the league, did what he did in his rookie year, but he continued to have a Hall of Fame career. They just didn't put the Super Bowl winning team around him.
Right.
CJ Stroud, the way they've built so far with these two pieces to start with, he and Will Anderson, and now you see they brought in the rookie coach to go along with it, who should be coach of the year. Bro, it's on. It looks like they know how to pick players now. They will be going pieces now. They can only hurt themselves, man, because CJ Stroud, he comes across as that down-to-earth guy. He doesn't get frazzled with anything. He doesn't say a whole lot of loud nonsense. He just goes out there, takes care of his business, gives a decent interview, gets hyped when he needs to, wins games.
Right. He does his job. He's not gonna ruffle feathers. He's not gonna rock the boat, but he's gonna go out there and perform, man. And that guy makes throws. And you look at his weapons. He lost his best weapon, and it still hasn't slowed them down.
Nope. The poise that he has. He sits back there. He shows the poise that I thought Bryce Young would show the poise in his rookie year. He's showing that poise. I think Bryce Young still has it. He just had a different set of circumstances with his offensive line, not really having anyone to throw to, and then his running back situation because of the offensive line didn't do anything to deter defense trying to stop him, and he was stopped several times. But going back to this AFC South battle in which the Texans seem to have won, they have won. They're the champs. They went into this weekend in a three-way tie with the Jaguars in Indianapolis. Lucky for the Texans, they were playing Indianapolis, and then the Jaguars, all they had to do was win just to get the playoff berth. See, they could have still gotten the playoff berth without winning the championship, but nevertheless,
Division.
the division. And now you see that the Texans win. They're the champs. The Jaguars, the biggest collapse, I think the most disappointing team, and the second biggest collapse has to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, luckily they had a good enough start where their collapse didn't affect their playoff, eligibility. But you live in Jacksonville. Is there something wrong with Trevor Lawrence?
I didn't think he was going to play, but he was fighting to play in this game. And we talked about it last week when I was thinking that as bad as he played this season, because he regressed seriously from what he was even in his rookie year, certainly from what he was last year, I thought having CJ Beathard in there gave you the same opportunity to win as with Trevor Lawrence did yesterday. CJ Beathard could have done this same losing routine yesterday. Same thing. Could have done the same thing. Possibly could have won it.
What's crazy is they had the chance to win. I mean, not win it, but at least tie with the 2-point conversion. But he overthrew Ridley,
and that's a lot of what he's
just
been
barely too, because he got it on his fingertips. Man, that was close.
He's done that so many times this year. Overthrow the ball when a receiver's wide open, or just make a completely bad read. He's done that so often this year. And they talked about the offensive line because there were injuries on the offensive line. Still are injuries on the offensive line. He started the season off with Cam Robinson out for the first 3 or 4 games. So but he's never looked at all this season like he looked at all last season. You know what I mean? Even in his losing last season, he looked better than he looked this season. In the wins, because those wins, as we mentioned so many times throughout the season, he put us up the numbers that help win, but not the numbers to win, but they were still winning. It had to catch up to itself sooner or later, and it caught up to itself. And they just had a real huge collapse in a division people thought would be easy. because going in, we expected the Texans to beat the Texans. That didn't happen. Indianapolis, check this out.
Rookie quarterback, you didn't expect much from them either.
Yeah, do they get this far with Anthony Richardson? Absolutely not. He's not going to. I don't think he would have done what C.J. Stroud did as a rookie. But Gardner Minshew, being the backup that he is, got them that far. But only one team coming out of the AFC South.
Right. Stroud, especially that last drive, he was money.
Man, he only missed one pass. Bro, picking them apart.
That dude was money. And then the Bills took care of business against the Dolphins.
Man.
Yeah, I don't want to say same old Dolphins because they're missing Mostert and Waddle.
Yeah.
But they did what the Dolphins do. They lose to good teams.
They've been getting dominated by the Buffalo Bills of recent history. Well, this is nothing but a continuation of what's already been happening. But at least both still getting to the playoffs. I think that because these players have gotten rest, they do come back for the playoffs. Things can change. If the Dolphins would have won, there would have been nothing but a rematch next week anyway between those two teams. You know what I mean? So I guess, losing kind of gives them a bit of a reprieve, get those players back an extra week of rest, and maybe they come out in the playoffs and they calculated this risk. They were going to the playoffs regardless. So I think that might have been a calculated risk of holding these guys out, knowing where there was a bigger prize out there. It would have been nice to be a number one seed or to be the number one team, be the champs of the AFC East, but it didn't go that way. And I think the Dolphins have a chance. But until they prove that they can do it, I'm still going to take Buffalo because I did take Miami going into this. Home field was supposed to mean something, but whoever thought about a punt return being the difference?
And you think about Josh Allen's turnovers, the bad interception in the red zone, the strip sack. And they still won in spite of Josh Allen being Josh Allen, making great plays and passes. When he runs the ball, he's a monster. He runs through arm tackles, even defensive linemen sometimes.
He's a big dude. People forget how big he is.
Right. Even defensive linemen sometimes don't bring him down. But he still makes bonehead plays too, like the interception. He felt the pressure, he just threw it without even looking.
That was ridiculous the way he threw that interception. I mean, seriously, but I think there was also a little bit of incidental contact. There was incidental contact on that throw as well. So people think the receiver falling down was one of these pass interference calls. They were behind the ref anyway. He didn't watch it. It was incidental contact. He tripped in his foot and he went down.
Well, the receiver was running away from where he threw it anyway.
Well, either way, Josh Allen, he's given a bit of a stigma like Brett Favre was early in his career. This guy that had so much talent, this gunslinger mentality, but he was throwing more picks. But he happened to play enough and play well enough to where they're winning and putting themselves in this position to go this deep into the playoffs, or go into the playoffs and probably get deep into the playoffs. But man, so many different games yesterday with so many implications. We talked about the AFC South. We look at what happened up there between the AFC East with the Bills and the Miami Dolphins. And then you kind of look at what's going on with this Pittsburgh game. Baltimore can afford to sit down and rest their players. Pittsburgh sneaks in. And I've seen the memes already talking about Mike Tomlin. Well, I got another plus 500 season. I guess that's better than the Super Bowl. Stop disrespecting the man. You know what I mean? It's funny, but stop disrespecting this man. He's been around a long time doing what he's been doing. He still has that championship to sit on. And people saying those were Bill Cowher's players. This isn't college. These are Bill Cowher's players, especially when it wasn't the season right after Bill Cowher left. Get out of here. Bill Cowher played with a bad Ben Roethlisberger because he was green. Thomason got a better Roethlisberger, and the team was better.
Yeah, I think the Steelers could be one and done.
Oh, they will.
Did you ever think there would be a matchup in the playoffs between C.J. Stroud and Joe Flacco?
Who had the playoffs
this year?
This someone year? Be on a roster or someone actually a quarterback? Come on.
That's crazy, man. But the Browns with that defense, they have a shot. And Flacco, he's been playing well. So it's going to take a big effort from CJ.
And then we just mentioned that last week, how the playoff starts a whole new season. And if you get hot at the right time, the Giants have proved it in playoff games or being a wild card, still getting to the Super Bowl, still winning a Super Bowl as a wild card. A lot of the same things right here. You have Joe Flacco getting hot at the right time. You already know defense definitely travels in the playoffs. I rarely see a defense that's good all year long decides not to be good during the playoffs. I think Cleveland has that ingredient. It's a matter and completely on Joe Flacco right now. And if he continues playing how he's been playing, it's going to be hard to get him out of it. They have a running game, they have the defense, and a quarterback who's hot as hell right now, among the top 3 quarterbacks in the entire NFL at this very moment.
What's crazy to me is I called him a statue. He even seems a little more agile than he used to be. I don't know, the time off has obviously done him well.
But he's never been a runner anyway, so now he is.
But I'm just saying he has a little more escapability than he used to. In the Bears game, people were coming up on him and he just make a little move, and I'm like, what the hell? How you let Flacco get away from you? But he did it consistently in that game, and he's done it consistently since he came to the Browns.
Well, now you talk about the Bears, so we bring up Green Bay. They're in the playoffs now. Surprisingly, really surprisingly, Jordan Love needs serious love. The way this guy's put together this season. In the beginning of the year, they played Chicago. I saw how he got the yards, and if you were just one of these stats people, you would look at the numbers and say, wow, he had a good game. But if you watch the game, you see how he got to that good game, just dumping passes, very low or high percentage passes, players making plays. And that was it. And then some problems that the Bears had at that moment. But, man, I saw him about, 5-6 games afterwards, completely different quarterback, and he's only gotten better. This guy, I hate to say it again, man, the Green Bay Packers might have done it again, picking a quarterback, and, this time around, a third straight time.
Yeah, it seems that way at the moment anyway. But let's remember, it's the Bears. The Bears have been playing well, but it's the Bears.
His entire body of work now has worked its way to this point. He's only gotten better, and even against the teams that he lost against, he wasn't making those same boneheaded decisions and mistakes that he was making in the beginning. He's looked like he's getting a whole lot better. Those 2 years sitting behind Aaron Rodgers did something, kind of a throwback to when Steve Young sat behind Montana for all of those years and became a Hall of Famer himself. The NFL doesn't allow for
I can't agree with that comparison. Everybody knew Young was a badass already.
Yeah, they knew Young was a badass from the USFL days, but Joe Montana, there was no way he was getting in there. You know what I mean? And for him to pick it up, and it's not like he won immediately when he got there. It was a reason why he talked about getting the monkey over his back, because you couldn't get over that hump. Now you have somebody like Jordan Love coming in, and we know that Green Bay knows how to build a team around a quarterback, or just build a team, period. Man, if they can get that defense together and then get him just the right tools around him, it's going to be a problem with another Green Bay quarterback. So,
he looked good yesterday, but the Bears couldn't get no pressure on him. Eberflus just sat back, played zone, and they got picked apart. Let's see what happens when there's a pass rush in his face. When there's constant pressure.
What you talk about now, Eberflus. Does he stay? Does he go? Is the hot seat on, or is he going to just stay because, the players want him to be there and GM may want him to be there? And, and now because he had somewhat of a hot streak going into this game, it was a road game, the biggest rivalry in the NFL, at least the oldest. And now, hey, the season is over, but, you have something to look at. And first pick overall and the 9th pick now that I've seen the numbers. The Jets picked 10. You pick right in front of the Jets with that pick.
Right. I don't know. So he survived Black Monday so far, right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything, but it seems like Pose is in this camp. It seems that way, but things can change. I don't know. The thing about it is there's so many moving parts to this. Are you going to keep Fields? If you keep Fields, well, then you don't want another head coach. You don't want another offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. How many times is this kid going to have to learn another offense?
Yep.
So that's the thing. But if you are drafting if you are drafting the quarterback, then you get rid of the coaches, because you want somebody with a proven record that they can develop a quarterback. So I think that's where the decisions are going to be made. Once they figure that out, then they know what route to take. That's what I believe, because you're not going to draft a new quarterback and keep Eberflus and Getsy.
Now, do you think there's a coincidence?
You better not.
Do you think there's a coincidence? Because typically Black Monday is that. You see a lot of coaches getting fired. We had a couple of coaches get fired so far, but there's still room for other coaches to get fired because we're sitting around and waiting, including Mike Vrabel down in Tennessee. Do you think because of tonight's national championship game, once Jim Harbaugh is completely done with this national championship game, win or loss, is that what they're waiting for? Whether it's San Diego, whether it's Chicago, whether it's Tennessee, all of these teams that have job openings. Now you have the general manager in Carolina gone, along with Frank Reich early in the season. They need a coach. So many jobs opening. And the Washington Redskins, by the way, just cleaned house. And they're not even letting Eric Bieniemy stay behind and do the interview. They're interviewing other coaches so far.
You make a good point. Could be after the game, win or lose. Harbaugh hired an agent a week and a half ago or so. Hey, start making those calls. Set up these interviews. And I don't know, because as far as Harbaugh going to the Bears, it makes all the sense in the world. But Kevin Warren, the VP, he's new to the Bears. Ryan Poles, the GM, he's new to the Bears. So it's not like they have a connection to Harbaugh. Past ownership, the ownership group, yeah, they do, but they promised to stay out of the way. That's why they hired Kevin Warren. Now, if they inject themselves, now they're doing the same old mom and pop thing that hasn't worked for all these years. So hopefully they stay out of it. Let the football people make the football decisions.
So now with all of these jobs available and Jim Harbaugh being who he is and whatever happens tonight happens, he'll like to go out with a win. But if he does hit the NFL landscape, I think for Jim Harbaugh taking the best opportunity, because he puts himself in that position to be able to pick and choose which job he wants. If I'm him, the Chargers seem like the obvious way to go. First of all, they're not in San Diego anymore, but they're close enough. He started off with those San Diego Terriers out there, went to San Diego State before going to Michigan. And he has that generational quarterback. Justin Herbert is there for him. And we know what Jim Harbaugh can do with quarterbacks. I mean, for what J.J. McCarthy was and to what he is right now, he's regressed a little bit, but they're in the championship game. Jim Harbaugh, and just the way he relates to his players. I mean, looking at what happened I know college and pros are different, but 6 games this team played without him, and they're still here in the national championship game. With the line still going up, starting off at 5.5, with all these squares throwing money down on Michigan. So now it's 5.5. It was 4.5. Now it's 5.5.
Yeah, it could be. San Diego currently is the best situation, but then if he looks at it, the Bears have the number 1 pick. They have the number 9 pick. If he has some input on who's going to get drafted, then Chicago becomes more attractive.
Now, has Chicago had a history of letting coaches and GMs they typically do work together, but sometimes you have that GM with the ego that's, it's ultimately going to be his decision. He's kind of, even if you have as a coach.
Well, I'm just speaking from the standpoint of if he interviews and he's going to ask, what are you thinking as far as the number 1 pick? Mm-hmm. And the Post says, oh, I haven't made up my mind, or blah, blah. And Post says, well, what would you like to do with it? And Post says, I don't believe in Fields. I want a new quarterback. Or he says, you're just missing a piece here and a piece there. Let's build around Justin. Trade down, get more assets, get a wide receiver. If Marvin Harrison stays in school, get Neighbors. At number 9, get an edge or get an offensive tackle. And now you're building around Justin. But, that there's going to be some conversation at some point.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering, now that we've seen these quarterbacks play in college, who's worthy of a number 1 pick overall? I don't think we have that quarterback that's worthy of that number 1 pick overall, and you're going to get the value out of him. I mean, it's a crapshoot anyways. It's not an exact science, but who's going to give you that vibe of we got the next Peyton Manning, or we have an Andrew Luck for that matter? Who's going to be that? I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft that gives you that feel, but I do think there's a quarterback in that draft that can give you that value and will be very valuable picked somewhere else, though.
Right. And I mean, it could be maybe Michael Penix is there at 9. And you know what? Let's take Penix. And I've said this before. They can keep Fields, draft a quarterback. Nothing says they have to get rid of Fields and can't draft a quarterback. Let him sit 1 year. If Fields doesn't improve, well, you got your quarterback on the roster already.
And that's true, because we've seen that happen before. It was in a different circumstance when San Diego, when they had Drew Brees, and then they still took Phillip Rivers, and they coexisted for a while, and then the trade was made, and Drew Brees ends up going to New Orleans, and, happily ever after. But in terms of Penix, I talked about a few times that knee injuries that he had in the past in Indiana, and then now coming here to Washington, looks spectacular in a new offense and whatnot. But when it comes down to the poking and prodding of the NFL Combine and all the tests that come with that, he kind of falls further and further back when you know that RPO is still such a big thing in the NFL, and he does have the ability to do it, but he also throws dimes. You know what I mean? So I can see him going. He still should be a first rounder, but if there's 32 teams or 32 picks in that first round, he could be 1 through 32, and you'll still get value.
Right. I mean, I've already said this a bunch of times. I think he's the most NFL ready out of all the quarterbacks right now. Although I'd rather have Jaden Daniels, but I don't think Daniels will be there at 9. But if Daniels is there at 9, they better draft him.
And I'm thinking too with Daniels. That's the one I'm thinking about. What I'm saying, someone may have that value that probably wouldn't go number 1, but if you took him at number 9, he can still give you that number 1 pick overall feel. I mean, the biggest pick of all time, Tom Brady, going as late as he did. If you took him at number 1, you still would have underestimated his value. Right now, if you revision his history, but right now, I think that there isn't a quarterback I think that you can just feel extremely confident about at number 1 and saying this is our guy. Caleb Williams made himself that kind of guy through play and then talk, and then as time went on, there was still talk, but the play wasn't matching up. So I don't think he should be that number 1 guy. Marvin Harrison, only because of need. If the Bears are there, I mean they're going to be there. That number 1 wide receiver to put on the other side of DJ Moore, there would be zero excuses left for Justin Fields. So that may just open up the door for that number 9 pick being a quarterback, because there's still enough of them still enough of them available at that number 9 spot. Even if you had Drake May who could move a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, even number 9 might be a little high for Penix, but maybe even trade down, get more assets.
Yeah, that's true. When you're trying to
because
build
there might be an edge somebody wants at 9. So go down to 14, draft Penix at 14 if he's there. But they can't hurt themselves by trading down, I don't believe, in this draft. Getting more assets because they have so many needs to fill. I've dogged Eddie Jackson for a few years now. We haven't had this podcast going for so long, but I've trashed him because he is trash. He tried to hit somebody yesterday and he bounced off of him and went backwards. So
well, maybe his days
even when he tries to hit someone, he can't do it. I'm done. I've been done with him. Let him go. So they're gonna need a safety. They need a couple offensive linemen, a center for sure. Obviously a wide receiver. Probably more beef on the D line, even though they drafted a couple last year. I mean, you can never have enough defensive linemen. Last thing you want is for your D lineman to get hurt, and the backups are scrubs, and people are just running the ball down your throat. So they need to add depth to the roster.
Yeah, and if they could do that by parlaying that early pick into more picks, that's exactly how you go about doing it, and through free agency. So hey, you have to really rely on that top management in order to be able to get that done at least efficiently enough, because it seems like Detroit is kind of where they want to be, and Green Bay is on the ascent in Minnesota. Even if they stagnate, they're still a solid team. And depending on with the Kirk Cousins situation and how he bounces back, and if they even keep him when he bounces back. So, but there have been so many storylines along with this going into yesterday's games. The hottest team going into the playoffs right now. I mean, can you really call a team hot if they lost the game? Because we could say Baltimore is the hottest, but they lost the game, but without the players that they normally had, that they got there with. San Francisco, same thing. And but you look at Philadelphia imploding as they did. They had something to gain yesterday and lost to the freaking Giants. I know that NFC East.
They didn't just lose; they got taken out.
Down 24-0 at one point.
Yeah,
bro,
that was embarrassing. I mean, you talk about limping into the playoffs. That they are literally limping into the playoffs.
You're talking about one and done with those guys now, the way things are looking on the surface.
Yeah, and what, 7-8 weeks ago, we were talking Hurts for MVP.
MVP, man. Hurts. He better get one of those Tom Brady Hurts commercials, because he's been quite hurt lately.
I love Hurts.
His play has been hurt, man. It's just, the way things have gone with the NFC East, to see how even though that it would just be a two-man race, still to see the Commanders being where they were and to see the Giants being what they are. I think Mark Whittendale's leaving. He's resigning as the defensive coordinator after saying, "Oh no, we're good." We kind of saw that on the wall But still, as it stands right now, those teams going into the playoffs, I'd rather be the Dallas Cowboys than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. At least you got something good going on in Dallas. And Dak Prescott is the season single-digit interceptions as he proclaimed before the season started.
9. What do you end up with?
9. Because he threw another one yesterday. I was like, 2 more, and you'd be in the freaking going into the game. 2 more, you'd have 10. He threw that 1, so now he only has 9. So Dak did his part, and the team benefited hugely because of it. He has to get his credit where credit's due. I think the MVP is already locked down with Lamar Jackson. People acting like Josh Allen should get it because he had 44 touchdowns, I believe. Bro, and I mean, come on, Lamar. How many of those other players out there have the rushing yards he has? Because Lamar is leading his team in rushing and, of course, passing. Those rushing yards are a huge reason for the record as well.
I vote C.J. Stroud before Josh Allen.
You know what? That may be the way things had turned out. He didn't make as many mistakes, and even with his absence for just 2 games, I probably would take him over that. It wouldn't be conventional wisdom, and it wouldn't be a popular take for people who are just NFL. They don't want to see a rookie do it unless he's special like Dan Marino. But who's to say C.J. Stroud isn't special? I know we have to wait and see how it continues to play out because, your rookie year can mean so much, and then things can go.
I mean, he took a trash-ass team. They had the number 1 pick to get him.
Yeah, exactly. And they got good right away.
They still don't have a lot of talent on that roster. Who are his receivers?
Right now, oh, man, I think it's tight end. I mean, seriously, you go down the list, you're like, right. Who the heck is he throwing to?
Right. So, and we know about Buffalo's weapons. So, yeah, I think if I'm voting for five people for MVP, C.J. Stroud is ahead of Josh Allen.
Yeah, he should be, and rightfully so. But, in terms of, I was saying how a rookie could come in, start, and just go straight out on hell and just in his next season not do as well and probably just ends up out of the NFL, kind of like a little bit like Rick Meyer, but even like Bill Groman, the one who just had his record broken by Puka Nacua? Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, Puka Nacua in the Rams. But come on now, he just broke a 63-year-old record. And this is, man.
Who are the Rams playing?
The Rams, who are they playing? The 49ers. I think that
the 49ers have a bye.
Oh, no. Oh, I thought you meant who they played yesterday.
No, in the playoffs.
I got to look in the schedule.
Because whoever they're playing, man, they better come up with a good
Detroit.
defensive scheme.
They play Detroit, bro. They can surprise Detroit, man.
Detroit's done.
You
talking about Cooper Kupp and Nacua, they're done.
Nacua, man, I'll tell you what, man. This is one of those stories of how did he get here? You look at him coming from a school like BYU that typically doesn't put out wide receivers. You've seen quarterbacks, maybe even some running backs, but really not the receivers of late. And then you go to the combine. He's a 4.57 guy. 4.57. This is typically the reason why you wouldn't get drafted. And then this guy leads the entire NFL. The guy that record he just broken, Bill Groman, and for people who do know that, played with the Houston Oilers in their first season, which was his first season, put up that record of, I think, 1,476 yards. But he did it in 13 games. 13 games. Yeah. I mean, come on. Nacua got 4 more games and just got past it. But still, regardless, that doesn't take away from what he has done, because going by the numbers and the way people use analytics these days, he shouldn't even be there. He's like Steve Largent on someone's team. Steve Largent couldn't play in today's NFL.
But Steve Largent's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Fame. He was excellent for the NFL he played in.
Right.
But, I mean, I've heard more than enough people say Steve Largent couldn't cut it in the NFL today. And I think, you know what? Julian Edelman did. You know what I mean? And I think that Steve Largent would have done it too. But would he have gone to the Hall of Fame? Another argument for another day. But yeah, those numbers, man, 17 games. And I know because of 17 games, you're going to start seeing more numbers and things going down. TJ Watt injured. Now that's going to hurt the chances of the Steelers. And it's a grade 3 sprain. That's not good. That's not a game or 2. That's more, unless your pain threshold is through the roof and you take asprin. I mean, seriously,
that was unfortunate. They'll be without him. They would be one and done anyway. Their offense just leaves too much to be desired.
Oh yeah, but you know what? The hottest team going in right now, I guess you could say maybe Dallas because of the way they won. It was the Washington Commanders. It is a division game. But I think in contrast to what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles playing against the same putrid Giants, you look at this Cowboys, like, man, they're on the ascend. And then you look at the numbers overall and see what Dak has done. All he has to do is keep doing what he's been doing. Usually you see a time when Dak just starts throwing balls and looking terrible. Like, okay, it's about to go down. And if they go to the playoffs, they're not going to win anyway. Now they're at a point to where, hey, they got a chance in every game they go into, and they probably should be favored in most of those games now.
Right. And although Jordan Love has taken a step up, the Packers are the youngest team in the league.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons going to be in Love's face all day if he can help it. I don't know if their defense can slow down the CeeDee Lamb and Dak. That game may not be close.
No, I'm not expecting them to win. I just like the way things have gone in the regular season. But, Dallas just has too much for them in this round. Will Dallas beat Dallas even after this round? We'll find out. Now we look at the Washington Commanders, not only because they didn't make the playoffs, but everyone had gotten fired. Ron Rivera, we knew it for weeks, was going to get let go, and everybody else was let go. They're interviewing coaches right now. Eric Bieniemy isn't one of those coaches, at least not right now. I know they were talking about, the ownership is going to get together, and they're going to decide what their next move is going to be. They want to create a new culture because a lot of things were done when Dan Snyder was here culturally and all that, and kind of imploded the legendary franchise. And then they bring up Magic Johnson's name. Yeah, we're going to get to find out what from Larry Johnson, from Magic Johnson. We will get his input. He has 4% of the team. I mean, you're talking about the extreme minority owner. Now, his face and his presence may mean something, even in the NFL, but come on now. I mean, I'm like, a matter of fact, they have the general manager from the Golden State Warriors, Myers, as far as building the culture. And they have, Chris Spielman? I mean, as someone who's looking for talent too, at least he's been in the NFL. But come on, I'm like, bro, I mean, they're going everywhere looking far and wide for someone to put this organization back together. But when they brought up Magic Johnson, I wondered, did you just bring him up to name drop, or is he going to really add something to this with 4% of the team? Reminds me of Jay-Z when he owned a piece of the Nets. And then he even goes out there, his Empire State of Mind song, if MG playing LeBron, I'm paying Dwayne Wade. Bro, yeah, 1/15% of the team. $800,000. Come on now. Get out of here with that. But yeah, man, it just kind of opened my eyes a bit when they just mentioned Magic Johnson. Well, yeah, he's part of the outfit, but the big dollars is coming from the major investors and whoever they end up picking up.
But why would Magic want to be involved with the Washington Commanders of all football teams?
Well, he wanted, I think it might have been his best opportunity at getting into an NFL franchise. A lot of minority owners or people wanted to be minority owners always said that there weren't opportunities or there wasn't a way for them to get in. Well, I guess he got in when he fit in. That 4% slot that was available, hey, he's able to slip in. He got in. So I guess once you get in there, maybe it opens up other opportunities for when another franchise has a chance to do some things. You can jump ship and go there. I don't know. But he's that minority owner they're looking for. And he's there for right now.
That could be, but I don't see the Commanders as one of the upper echelon franchises in the league.
Historically, that's it. Historically, right now, the Washington Commanders / Redskins, that franchise, regardless of a name change, is still going to be iconic. That brand is still going to be iconic. Even though they changed the uniforms, changed the logo, we all know, and I think anyone who's watched football overseas still know the Washington Redskins reign supreme.
Those aren't your daddy's Redskins, brother.
They aren't your daddy's Redskins, and they haven't been even with the Redskin on the helmet. They hadn't been your daddy's Redskins for a long time, but that legacy still held up, and they were still able to, remember, Green Bay went through their lull before Brett Favre came along, when they had Don Majkowski and Brett Forward and those kinds of players, and Lindy Infante is their coach. They went through that time when things just weren't going right for quite some time, and then they popped back on the scene.
It took Reggie White to sign there.
It took Reggie White, yep. Yeah, it took Reggie White. Maybe there's a Reggie White out there. Maybe
it could be like nobody was taking them seriously, and then they signed Reggie White, and people are like, oh, they are serious.
Yeah, because Reggie White was playing the game too, because he actually had the Jets on his list. Whoever God tells me to go to in the morning is where I'm going. Well, I didn't know a guy was a Green Bay Packer fan, but that's where he ended up. He ended up playing there, and they got their Super Bowl because of it. And, Brett Favre had something to do with it, but Reggie White was the linchpin of that entire team. But now we have what we have in the playoffs. Nice matchups, good matchups, but the number one seeds having that bye week. I'm still a little leery about what happened with Lamar Jackson not playing yesterday at all. And when he
Right.
does play finally, that will be the third week of football when he gets in there. And we've seen his act before with that long wait.
Yeah, missing 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially that initial drive. Hopefully they script some good plays and they work out, because I don't know if he's gonna be in rhythm. It's hard to simulate game speed in practice. So
absolutely. Especially this time of year when everybody's beaten up anyway. I just hope he sticks to that same formula that had gotten him there, where he has design runs and he still has the patience and discipline to roll out and find plays that are wide open and just kind of intermittently run the ball and surprise the defense when there's man coverage, their backs are turned, and get that 15-yard, 20-yard choke play. That would be cool if he can pull that off. But man, still that game speed, man, for everybody involved. But he just happens to be the most important cog because it's a quarterback and timing means everything. And, the offensive line, they can get their act together fairly quick. The defense travels, but receivers and quarterbacks got to have that connection.
So let's talk about tonight's game. We got to wrap this up pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're talking about tonight's game. The reason why I waited this long is because by the time people hear this, they'll be watching tonight's game. So, hey, I'm gonna go with Michigan in this game. It could be Jim Harbaugh's swan song. And what a way to go out. He made his team feel like victims from the very beginning. And these guys have been running with that, with him and without him, still playing the victim role. Everybody's against this role, and they've played just like it. That dominant offensive line, though, and that defensive line, after doing what they had done to Bama, and even though we talked about Bama all season about not having as good a line as people thought because of the size, they got better later on, but Michigan absolutely destroyed them last week in the first half. 5 sacks. Defensive line-wise, their offensive line just threw them off the line when they were running the ball. Man, I see a lot of that Big Ten smash-mouth football going against the typical finesse offenses of a Pac-12 team. And Washington, they were able to discipline and kind of overcome Oregon. I don't think it happens against Michigan on that offensive line and defensive line.
Well, it certainly would behoove the Wolverines to focus on running the ball.
Yes.
Running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still picking the Huskies.
I
just got a feeling their offensive line, I think, will protect him. As long as they protect him, he should make all the throws. I haven't seen a more accurate quarterback than Michael Penix, especially when you talk about throwing the deep ball. He throws dimes 40 yards downfield. It could be Washington makes big plays, where Michigan, they have to go through long drives.
Yeah,
all it takes is a false start here, a holding penalty here. Now you're behind the sticks, so you don't get the first down. You gotta kick it to them, and if you can't put pressure on Penix, again, he's going to make the throws. But they're also going to have to have some semblance of a run game. He can't just drop back every play.
No, he can't.
They have to keep them honest.
And I tell you, as far as Michigan goes, J.J. McCarthy, like both teams, it's going to come down to the quarterback. I think he might have regressed a little bit throughout the end of the year, in particular when they got to play the tougher teams. But his athleticism is going to have to be used a little bit better in this game than it's been used against Alabama. Alabama's a Southern team that had so much speed, but that's what the Pac-12 is known for, their speed. So him running his 4-4, trying to get to the outside, trying to create things because either nothing's there or it's by design, I think those Pac-12 guys can keep up with him. On the other hand, if they keep it between the tackles or even just use Corum to get on the outside a little bit, even Edwards coming out of the backfield, I think they can do a lot of damage and hang on to that ball often and do a lot of what the Giants did years ago against the Buffalo Bills. Play keep away. Let it come down to the kicker and see how it comes down. But I'm thinking that Michigan, man, defensively getting after the quarterback, and with Penix with his past knee issues, I haven't really seen him under duress a lot. He's been under duress before, but not a lot. This is a game that allows for a lot to happen with the pass rusher getting after him interiorly and on the outside. So we'll get to see how fast and how quick he can get these balls off. His receivers catch every damn thing that's in their vicinity. So that's the plus for them. I'm just thinking Michigan just has that gritty team.
It's going to come down to the guys in the trenches, right?
Yeah.
If Michigan's opening large holes and Washington can't stop the run, they're in trouble. If Michigan can consistently get pressure on Penix, they're in trouble. But if they protect Penix Like I said, he's going to
Yeah,
make the throws and he's going to find his receivers. And here's the thing: when you're used to getting pressure on quarterbacks, and now all of a sudden you're getting beat at the offense at the line, doubt enters your head.
yeah, yeah, it does. And
Doubt
fatigue.
enters your head, right? And now you start looking around like, hey, one of us got to make a play. If nobody makes a play, man, it can be very demoralizing. And for the guys behind you, like, man, we're not used to covering for this long. We're not used to these guys being so open. What's going on out there, guys? People start to question things, and the coaches are like, they got to figure out a new scheme, and that's what I think is going to happen with Washington tonight.
I'm thinking
At
lucky for
least
both teams.
as far as Michigan is concerned.
I'm thinking lucky for both teams. They have another game to play after they played a game the previous week, so it's not a 3-week hiatus between games, and so you get rusty and you're worrying about timing.
Yeah.
You go into another game more of a creature of a habit. You played your game last Monday, so now you're playing this game this Monday, so that helps out a whole lot. And I think that Michigan is just I've seen them all year long, and I think a lot of what I said in the beginning of the season probably doesn't matter this late in the season by saying, well, of the top 4 teams going into the season, Michigan is the only one with a returning quarterback. All of these quarterbacks have done what they've done now. So we can see whatever happened early in the season, preseason wise, whatever predictions went out, doesn't matter because we have what we have. And Penix has looked a lot better passing wise than what JJ McCarthy
He's
has.
a super duper senior. He's 24 years old.
Yeah, he's a 24-year-old player. You know what I mean? But this is what we have now. Stetson Bennett was a grandpa too and won 2 championships because of it. You know what I mean? He's now with the Rams, and hopefully he gets his opportunities there. But the way things are looking with Michigan in terms of the overall team, and I always mention that offensive line, that hasn't changed other than their center being injured and missing the entire rest of the season. He might be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft, but bringing in those 2 senior stalwarts from Arizona State and from Stanford, just to name a couple of the guys that they brought in, Ladarius Henderson, and they brought in, what's his name, Jake Nugent, the offensive lineman from Stanford, captains on both teams, and they brought that leadership here. You saw it throughout the season. And then when you think it needs to matter more, they did it when it counted against the Alabama Crimson Tide, throwing them around, blowing them off the line of scrimmage. And I think I don't want to pigeonhole a team by saying because he's in the Pac-12, they're finesse automatically because of the transfer portal, you can just change who you are overnight, but you're not going to do it in 1 week. So that's why I'm taking Michigan.
Well, I really want
Michigan deserves the championship.
I really want Washington to win because the Harbaugh situation. You can't cheat for half the season and then win the championship. I mean, you can, but to me,
now has he been punished for the cheating, or are these still just allegations?
I don't know.
He hasn't been punished for the cheating,
suspended for three games
until further notice. Well, but they told you what he was suspended for.
There's something there. You don't suspend somebody for
they told you
just because someone said
they
something.
mentioned what they suspended him for. They mentioned him because of the coach that was out there and the allegations that were made. They said, no, we're not punishing Harbaugh. We're just punishing the team. That's what the so-called suspension was for. And at the time, I thought they were saying that because they had even bigger plans for the Harbaugh when this was all said and done. Like, yo, you're done for a year. But he made run to the NFL, and that might not ever happen. There'll still be an investigation because I assume it's still going on right now, like the entire Big Ten this past year, nothing but investigations. But yeah, I'm just gonna go with the team that I took from the very beginning.
There's no way that guy was booking flights.
Oh yeah, Harbaugh did not know anything about it.
And yeah, nobody knew anything. Like he just did on his own. Yeah, right. At some point, if he's on the staff, like, hey, where's so and so? He's never here on game day. What the fuck?
He's at someone else's game. What do you expect? He just flew over to your rival. Yeah, man. But you know what? Harbaugh does come across as a bit quirky. He is quirky. If you watch that Amazon Prime deal that Michigan was on, man, yeah, he's a quirky dude. But I mean, I'm just taking who I think is the better team. And I know I picked against Washington a couple of times this year, even twice with Oregon, which was ridiculous. But this team here has been doing it all year long. I think they've done it against the better teams. And even with Texas losing last week against Washington, Washington did beat them last year in the Alamo game, Alamo Bowl. So I don't think you say, well, that's because they won there. No surprise they won here. But it kind of lends itself to that because I still took Texas to win. But hey, Washington won that game, and I think with Michigan winning the way they have won, I just think the better team is Michigan. And is it a blowout or not? It's not going to be what we saw last year. I think it's going to be a relatively close game because both teams allow it. But then if Michigan's able to hold on to the ball and just score and let the defense score, run the ball, play defense like they've been doing, it could be one of these games that gets away, but it won't be 65-7 getaway.
That's my fear, that they just come out and run the ball. But head coaches have egos too. You know, he might say, we're not just going to come out here and run the ball. We're not limited. We can do this. We can do that. And they get themselves in trouble. We'll see.
Well, knowing how Washington has been against the run, I wouldn't be surprised if you let your running backs do it and have
it takes a lot of discipline to just say, you know what, man, they can't stop our run. We're just going to run the ball.
But that's who they are, though.
If you call a pass play, I'm going to send your ass to the locker room. Run the ball.
Hey, but that's who they are. That's Michigan. That's Big Ten football anyway. Things have changed over the years. It's not your Bo Schembechler with Michigan Wolverines, but they still could run that ball. They could really grind it out on the ground and get those yards methodically and take time off the clock and probably get a quick hitter for 15 or 20 yards.
They should have done it to Bama, but they didn't.
No, because I'm still thinking that JJ McCarthy is still in his regression and still with those 3 weeks off and then kind of getting back into the game. And he has been falling off in the past 5 games, now 6 games, adding the Alabama game in terms of his production, throwing the ball, completion percentage, and those things. But I think you need to get him running the ball, make him a threat for real. Once that running game starts going and he's part of the running game, making it a threat, it'll make it easier on him to be able to throw those intermediate passes and not even go downfield unless there's a wide open play like he's done before. Just wide open with the receivers pretty much calling a fair catch.
Could be. Just have to wait and see.
Well,
less than an hour away from game time.
And that's why we can check out right now, man. So
we got to talk about Draymond.
Draymond. This guy.
I said 12 games. He's coming back after 12 games.
That's the way it worked out.
I know Adam Silver. People are saying, I saw on TV earlier, I think it was Michael Wilbon saying, this seems soft to me. What do you think Adam Silver is? He's soft. Come on, man.
Yeah, it was an indefinite suspension, but I think that kind of gave him a cop-out to kind of just let him in when he comes in. Right. You know what I mean? You can say, well, he's got his attitude under control now after 12 games, which is more than 2 weeks. And now he can come back in.
Report too saying Draymond was just going to retire, but Silver talked him out of it. I didn't read the article, but I don't know. He probably playing the victim. Oh, they're picking on me.
$100 million and 100 million reasons not to play victim. Get out of here with that. Get out of here playing that game. Man,
they're still gonna suck anyway. They until they had a decent big man who was an offensive threat and rim protector. They are not going to get much better than they are right now. And CP3's hurt.
Newsflash.
Chris Paul's hurt. Exactly.
Yeah, we didn't expect that though. I mean,
that was a dumb trade. I saw on my record
when that trade was made. We was kind of charting down when he would get injured.
Right, but I said that was a bad trade for them anyway. And you know what? Jordan Poole in Washington is not much better. That dude got his bag.
That's terrible.
He got his bag, and he don't give a fuck.
I haven't watched their games because Johnny Davis has disappointed me for the past 2 seasons, so it's not even worth. Man, I can't watch him play if he's on the bench. God, I'm seriously. But the Washington Wizards are horrible, man. I tell you what, Detroit puts in more effort to win a game, and San Antonio puts in more effort to win a game than they do, and they got more wins.
Did you see Wemby and
Giannis, boy?
Yeah,
boy, they got it on.
Wemby went behind the back on Dame.
Bro, it was
that's a big man with skills.
Yo, that dude's just turned 20 years old. This is what we're gonna have to see if everything goes with the perfect script for the next 10 to 15 years. if he's doing it now. Later on in his career, he probably won't be jumping up and down like that. But the dude's vertical is like 3 inches. He doesn't need anything else.
Yeah, he don't.
He has that long arms, long body. You can't rainbow the ball over him or anything. He's blocking the joint.
He can probably he probably can touch the top of the backboard if he really tried.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. This guy's athleticism, you just think he's going to get hurt just from landing. That's how it looks. Yeah. But man, the things he does, the backboard, come back with the dunk off the backboard, all that. Man, San Antonio, they gave that game away. But like some of the announcers were saying, if you just turned the television on and you didn't know that which team was the top tier team, you wouldn't even know which team it was. You just think they're both high level teams, man.
Let me ask you a question about your boy, because I saw a clip earlier and it was a Larry Bird clip and Magic Johnson. I think it was at his retirement or something, and he said, "You said there'll be another one, but I'm saying there will never be another Larry Bird." What about Luka?
Luka like Larry Bird? You know what? Because I was gonna say, well, a more athletic version. Man, he about the same athletically. Almost about the same.
Pretty much the same skill set too.
Yes, same skill
I don't know if he's a killer like Bird yet.
I'm about to say, because Larry Bird, man, he had that dog in him, and you saw it, and you heard it. And now you're hearing about it years later, and he wasn't afraid to take shots, and he was much more efficient than Luka, though. More efficient. Luka turns the ball over a lot. He's gotten better with it.
He plays point guard too.
Yeah, that's true too. But Larry Bird is pretty much a point forward at times, the way he was just dishing it out. And in terms of 3-point shooting, Larry Bird I'd rather have the ball in his hand with something on the line than Luka's right now.
I'm just saying, I think he's close. He's close. He's got to get it done in the playoffs, though.
Yeah. Well, he's been doing it in the playoffs. He just hasn't had any support. He's been killing the playoffs, man. Averaging 38 points a game in some playoffs.
Yeah, let's get him 3 Hall of Famers like Bird had and see what happens.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. They got rid of one of his Hall of Famers in Porzingis.
That's not a shot at Bird, man. Don't come at me for that. Bird is a great player. And if it came down to a basketball player to take the last shot to save the universe, I might pick Bird over Jordan.
Bird over Jordan, but not Steph Curry.
Oh, definitely over Curry.
You taking him over Curry?
Hell yeah. One shot, time running out. Oh, Bird all the way over Curry.
Woo. Man, you're gonna have a bunch of haters out there hearing that now.
Oh, man.
I've heard that question asked before, too.
That's my guy, but he doesn't always come up.
You know what? Look at Christmas Day. He doesn't do anything there either. Well, that's how it's going to end. And, the Oklahoma City's kind of coming down. OKC's coming down a little bit, but this to be expected. I still think they're one of the hottest teams, definitely a playoff contender. I don't think they're
I talked about that last week.
What? By hitting the wall?
Yeah, the
young players.
How long can they keep it up?
Yeah, I'm thinking that, look, we still have an all-star break where young kids get to rest up all over again and go for that late season push, see what goes on with that. Minnesota, not looking that good. The Knicks seem to be the hottest team right at this moment after the trade had lost. They're playing against Portland. Portland beat the freaking Nets. Like, bro, I thought it was a gimme for the Nets, man. Portland's been terrible. And Scooter, Scoot Henderson. I was expecting so much more from this guy. But anyway, yeah, we're going to have definitely our fair share of the NBA to talk about and college basketball because number one seems to change every other week or every other day. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Yeah.
But hey, the tournament's
going to be Huskies. Go Huskies.
Yep. He's saying go Huskies. I'm saying hell to the victors. And let's see what goes on between Michigan and Washington national championship game. CFP finals tonight. Michigan started off as a 4.5-point favorite. Now 5.5. The Squares have come in and dumped their hard-earned cash on the Wolverines. That's why it's where it is. But we'll be back here on Thursday previewing the Super Bowl. Well, not the Super Bowl, but the playoffs. Which will lead to the Super Bowl.
Playoffs?
Jim Mora, where is he? We need a soundbite with Jim Mora out here. And then looking back on this national championship game, and I'm sure there's so much more to come. The Jim Harbaugh saga may just be beginning in terms of this NFL story. He's biased. I'm Trav, and the Sports Bag Bros podcast is signing off. Deuces.